Let's talk football. Okay, welcome to Artistic Independency Sports Podcast. Let's talk football number 2. I'm your host, John Behrens, and co-hosting with me is
Joshua Perkins. What's going on, everybody?
Okay, so we're into preseason week number 2. Last week we broke down the AFC and NFC East divisions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So today, trying to make up some ground and cover 4 divisions. So with that being said, let's start with Baltimore Ravens. Newman announced that he was retiring at the end of the season. And quite honestly, they didn't really do much. Like the highlight of their offseason additions was John Brown, running back from Arizona, and Michael Crabtree.
Yeah, Michael Crabtree, he was a very formidable receiver when he was with the Oakland Raiders. So I mean, I feel it's a decent pickup for the Baltimore Ravens, but I feel that they could have done more in the offseason as far as the free agency was concerned. Now, also what kind of like stands out to me is their quarterback battle. Of course, Joe Flacco's going to start week 1, but now Baltimore has options. They got RG3, who's trying to revitalize his career, and they have Lamar Jackson, rookie draft pick out of Louisville, who was a sensation when he was in college, being the former Heisman Trophy winner. And so now Joe Flacco has a fire that needs to be lit up under him. Baltimore got those 2 quarterbacks to give Joe Flacco some motivation, like, hey, if you don't go out there and produce, your performance is not going to fly. We got somebody that we can replace you with.
So, I mean, what is your take on Lamar Jackson? Kind of as a pro prospect, because I remember hearing people like Collins Cowherds talking about Lamar Jackson being the next Tim Tebow.
Well, Lamar Jackson, I feel that he has a potential to be a pretty good quarterback in this league. He has to hone his game. He has to, in the pros, you have to trust your offensive line. You have to be able to use your resources on that field, because in the pros it's a lot faster. What really killed Johnny Manziel was the fact that he thought the stuff that he did in the college level at Texas A&M that he could do on the pro level. It's a lot faster, it's a lot more intense. If Lamar Jackson can adapt to the new adjustments, I think he'll be pretty good. With Tim Tebow, in my opinion, his main thing was, he didn't really have a lot of arm accuracy. And not only that, teams just never really gave him a shot. He was just basically, teams just bounced him around in the system. He turned into a journeyman. So, I feel that if the Baltimore Ravens franchise can take their time with Lamar Jackson and really, hone in on him and focus in on him, I feel that he'll have a good career.
So the Ravens did end up losing Mike Wallace. So do you see like a difference in Crabtree and Wallace, or is it kind of just trading one for the other?
I feel it's kind of trading one for the other. You have guys who have a good set of hands, guys who can make the big plays out when it comes to running the routes and when it goes to making big plays downfield. So I feel like it's trading one for the other.
Fair enough. All right, Cincinnati Bengals. Right now, they seem to be a little bit in a rebuilding process. They added Preston Brown. Didn't have any really noteworthy losses in free agency outside of, I want to say, Jeremy Hill. But he was kind of, I feel like he lost favor with the Bengals for after his rookie season, really. Not too familiar with any of their draft picks, but yeah. What do you say on the Bengals?
Bengals, of course, they got Andy Dalton, who is a pretty good quarterback. He just needs more of a team around him, and I think that's what the Bengals are working on. They do have A.J. Green, who's one of the better receivers in the league. They also added a draft pick who I have high hopes for. Their draft pick from Ohio State, Sam Hubbard, a defensive end, who I feel can bring some tenacity to that Cincinnati Bengals defense. I don't see a bunch of success coming out of the Bengals this season since they are in the rebuilding process. As far as building a team around Andy Dalton, who is pretty much the face of that franchise. But I do see the Bengals making some type of improvement this season. I do see them on the right path.
Well, you say the right path, but you look at the Bengals for the last 10 years under Marvin Lewis, who I believe has announced his retirement after it was either this season or the next year. But I think he's kind of under pressure to like go out that door.
I mean,
it's been kind of the staple for mediocrity.
I mean, honestly, and you really saw that pressure last season. A lot of people were asking for Marvin Lewis to just get kicked out the door. But I mean, to be honest, I do not know why the Bengals keep him. And if they really want to rebuild for the future, it's time for a new head coach. It's time for some new blood on that sideline.
Cleveland Browns. I don't think there's another team out there that wasn't more intriguing as far as offseason moves go. Dorsey seems to be serious about contending and taking the Browns to an actual contenders level, trading for Tyrod Taylor, trading for Jarvis Landry, signing Carlos Hyde, TJ Carey, EJ Gaines. The only real loss was Isaiah Crowell.
And they also lost Corey Coleman in a trade to the Bills. Also, Josh Gordon did return to the team. Josh Gordon actually took a leave of absence for about a month to focus on his mental health. Josh Gordon, the problem, it stems further than just, the drugs. I mean, he's really trying to be a student of the game. He's really trying to put his focus on the game that he loves. That way he can really, really break out in his career.
So, oh no, I mean, the Browns they actually look good.
And Baker Mayfield has been looking pretty good this preseason. But can he live up to the flash?
Right. I mean, the thing about Baker Mayfield is that I was just listening to Colin Cowherd, and he said Mayfield doesn't show any wow factor for someone who's a number one overall. He said, okay, so he made a completion into the back of the infield. I call that a play you should make.
Well, Colin Cowherd, he is a constant skeptic of a lot of things. I mean, Colin Cowherd, it's hard for him to, it's hard to get credit out of him unless you're like somebody like LeBron James. And then you go to a guy like Skip Bayless who don't want to give LeBron James credit. And so, I mean,
I love Skip.
Colin Cowherd, I mean, he's just doing what he does best, and that's just being a tough critic of a lot of players. But Baker Mayfield, I feel he's gonna have a good career. He needs to be able to learn from Tyrod Taylor. Of course, you got Jarvis Landry, Carlos Hyde. They're adding much needed experience to that offense. And so that's why I feel the Browns are going to be successful. I mean, to teams that are playing the Browns this season, do not come with the same outlook. This is not last year's Browns. This is a much more focused Browns team.
Oh, definitely. They're just that much better. Almost overnight. I mean, what do you say? I'm actually excited to watch the Browns.
I'm excited, too. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, okay, they added Morgan Burnett, and the highlight of their losses was Chris Hubbard. But I think, because really, Steelers are never really that active in free agency. But I don't like where the Steelers are at right now, man. You got Ben Roethlisberger, who is talking about retiring soon. Le'Veon Bell has said he's not returning.
And, for some odd reason, can't get a new contract despite being one of the best running backs in the league.
I don't know if he's asking for too much money for a running back. It kind of sounds like he's looking for quarterback money for a running back, but at the same time, it's like, why wouldn't you pay the man?
Exactly. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is a workhorse. I mean, he's an Ironman of that offense. Le'Veon Bell, if you need yards, you need that first down, you need that touchdown, Le'Veon Bell got you. And so if he wants quarterback money, give it to him. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is going to be retiring soon. And, of course, you got Mason Rudolph, you got Joshua Dobbs following up behind him. That's a quarterback battle. So you already have a quarterback that's coming who are already on their rookie contracts. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that Pittsburgh would be taking a loss by giving this man quarterback money. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs in the league. If not probably the best running back in the league, honestly.
I forgot about Mason Rudolph. Is it what, San Diego State?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma State doesn't have a repetition for really producing NFL quarterbacks. So I'm interested to see where Rudolph ends up going.
I see Mason Rudolph. He takes a season or two to learn from Ben Roethlisberger. I think Mason Rudolph can break out whenever he does step on that field.
All right, moving on. Chicago Bears, NFC Central. Is it Central?
NFC North.
North. Okay. I'm still thinking the early days. I just put an age on myself.
With the Bears, I like where the Bears are going. They got Mitchell Trubisky, who they have already made it clear that they want to build a franchise around him. He is the face of that franchise. You got Tariq Cohen at running back. They add Trey Burton, who's another target for another tight end. They also added Allen Robinson from the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was a huge ad. I mean, a huge ad. So, of course, they are definitely trying to build a franchise around him. Mitchell Trubisky, he showed a lot of promise last season. I mean, the Bears were in the middle of a disastrous year last year, and Mitchell Trubisky pretty much got thrown in. And now that he's built up a lot more momentum, he's gotten more experience under his belt, I like where the Bears are going. Do I see them being a playoff team? Probably not. I mean, you look at who's in their division. You got Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers coming back. And you got the Minnesota Vikings, who got Kirk Cousins on a huge deal. And I've already talked about the Vikings last week. I mean, what else is there to say about the Vikings? And you just look at the NFC. The NFC competition is real tough, and I don't see the Bears really powering through that competition this season. I do see improvement coming out of the Bears this season. I just don't see them going the distance.
Well, I can totally agree with that. And like these moves that I see with the addition of Burton, Gabriel, and Robinson, it's obvious that they're trying to build around Trubisky and actually give him quality players that he can build around and learn with. They can, in some cases, make plays out of nothing. So there seems to be a little bit of a edge taken off that learning process for Trubisky. But Detroit Lions, again, like the Miami Dolphins like the Miami Dolphins that we talked about last podcast, it's kind of hard to get a rating on Detroit. Like, what the hell is this team doing? The highlight of your offseason additions is Garrett Blunt, and you lose 3 defensive players that are standout.
They also lost Eric Ebron at tight end, but I mean, in the Lions defense, Eric Ebron didn't really produce to their standards. He did have a kind of a tough time. They did add Garrett Blunt because with the Lions, they haven't had a 100-yard rusher in a long time. It's been a while. And so they need somebody to take that pressure off of Matt Stafford because, of course, the running game opens up the passing game. Because you take the pressure off the quarterback, now you're making the quarterback more comfortable. Matthew Stafford hasn't had that. And Matthew Stafford, he's one of the more elite quarterbacks in the league. It's just he doesn't really have a team around him. So I feel that getting LeGarrette Blunt was like the Lions' ditch effort as far as getting themselves a running back and getting that pressure off of Matt Stafford.
To me, if you want to get the pressure off of Matt Stafford, you give him a defense, because it's not hard for a team to go in and hang 40-something points on the Lions.
Exactly. I mean, it's not hard. Whether it's on the whether you're at Ford Field or the Lions come to you, it's not hard.
It's like Drew Brees, but worse in my mind. It's like when it was like for the 3 years before last year, where they had one of the worst defenses in the league,
and like their defense was historically bad. I mean, they gave up like over 5,000 yards.
And you're forcing your quarterback to come in and pass for over 400 yards a game just to have a chance at winning. A chance at winning.
I mean, it's kind of like you related back to the Cleveland Cavaliers this past season, to where, LeBron James didn't really have a supporting cast, and LeBron had to go hang 40 and 50 points every single game just for the Cavs to be in winning position. I mean, and that's how it is now. I mean, you're forcing Matt Stafford to go in and throw for 350 to 400 yards a game just to put the Lions in position, and sometimes the Lions are not even in position to win the game. And so it's like you don't know where the Lions are going. And they also lost Haloti Ngata, who was probably the highlight of their defense. I mean, I don't know where the Lions are going, and of course, honestly, in my opinion, I do have the Lions finishing last in the NFC North this season.
I can see that.
So my order this season, as far as the division goes, I got the Vikings at number 1, Packers at number 2, Bears at 3, Lions at 4.
That's going to be a tough division.
It's going to be one of the toughest divisions in the league, because you got probably you got the Packers, who got Aaron Rodgers coming back. They did lose Jordy Nelson, but they did add Jimmy Graham, who is an extra target, who's going to have a field day with Aaron Rodgers. You look at Jimmy Graham back when he was in New Orleans. Sean Payton knew how to use the guy. I mean, and he had Drew Brees. They had the offensive line for the blocking. So Jimmy Graham really opened up the passing game and really opened up the field. With Jimmy Graham, you add another dimension to your passing game. With Jimmy Graham, you're making that defense play the whole field. Because not only you have to watch out for guys like, with the Packers, you got to look out for guys like, Randall Cobb. You also got to look at guys for like Jimmy Graham. You also add Muhammad Wilkerson to the front 7.
Jordy Nelson. They got rid of Jordy Nelson. Why? I mean, he went and signed with the Oakland Raiders.
Basically, the day that he visited the Oakland Raiders.
And Carr was just like, I can see why Rodgers likes Nelson so much. I don't know why the Packers got rid of them.
And Gruden's in love with him.
I mean, yes, you get rid of Jordy Nelson, and now he's in John Gruden's offense.
Which, oh my God, that has destructive capabilities.
All right, I guess we have like kind of strayed to talking about the Vikings a little bit, but still, I mean, next up is the Vikings. Added Sheldon Richardson, Kirk Cousins. Biggest loss, Jerick McKinnon
at running back, but they also have, the Vikings have Dalvin Cook, who's ready to break out, because Dalvin Cook last season was going to be his breakout rookie year, but of course he had an injury that sidelined him for the rest of the season. So Dalvin Cook is poised for a comeback. He's poised for this season. They also added, Kirk Cousins. I mean, it's like giving Stewie Griffin some weapons now. Because with Kirk Cousins, he was with the Washington Redskins, and he did shine out there after RG3 flopped. But now he's on a better team. He's on a team with a formidable defense. Now he has receivers. He has a supporting cast now. So imagine imagine giving a world leader more destructive weapons. Now you just made him a lot lethal. It's like, you look at Kirk Cousins, I bet when he stepped up in that Vikings facility, it's like Stewie Griffin stepping up into a weapons factory. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Family Guy, so of course I'm going to use that reference, because Kirk Cousins this season will be the NFL version of Stewie Griffin, because now he just got some weapons. It's Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Now you look at that defense, Everson Griffin, who likes to get in the backfield, Anthony Barr, Kendricks, Sendejo, Xavier Rhodes. Do I need to go further?
It's like my thing with the Vikings, however, it seems like their window is now. And
it's now.
They know it. Hence the reason that they, I fully believe, the fact that they actually took a serious shot at Drew Brees and at least reportedly outbid the Saints. At least financially, anyway.
Hey, Minnesota, here's a cake, and it says, "At least you tried." Drew Brees is our quarterback. Leave him alone.
But, I'm curious to see how Kirk Cousins performs in that Viking offense. I do believe he's the more proven quarterback over Case Keenum. I mean, we got to see a Case Keenum we hadn't seen before. Then again, at the same time, does Case Keenum suck, or does Jeff Fisher suck more? Yeah. Okay. Texans. Gosh. No real big losses in free agency. Added Aaron Colvin, Senio Clemente, who is one of the most versatile offensive linemen in the league. We got to see him with the New Orleans Saints for the last 4 years.
I mean, I feel he has that next dimension to that Texans offensive line. Senor Clemente is a guy you could put anywhere. So if somebody goes down, you could put him in. Bam, you got somebody who could fill in that gap.
And you also add in Tyrann Mathieu to that already solid Texans defense.
Most definitely. Not only that, you got Deshaun Watson coming back from injury, ready to break out for the Texans. I mean, before Deshaun Watson got hurt, I looked at the Texans winning that division. And they're in the AFC West, right? No, is it AFC South? Yeah. In the AFC South, along with the Titans, Jaguars,
and the Colts.
So before the injury of Deshaun Watson, I mean, AFC the divisions can kind of look due to the geography. The divisions get kind of confusing. Now you look at a guy like. You look at the Texans before Deshaun Watson got hurt. I looked at the Texans winning that division. The Texans were my front runner because you look at the way that the Texans were running their team. You got Deshaun Watson, you had DeAndre Hopkins, you had David Clown, J.J. Watt. Now you add in Tyrann Mathieu. You got Deshaun Watson coming back. Now I see the Texans being a contender in their division this season.
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to can Watson stay healthy? Because when he was playing with them, they were obviously putting up like 30+ points a game. But as soon as he went down, they became
more like 50+ against the Tennessee Titans, who ended up winning that division that season. But
yeah, they did. So, was it the Colts? Andrew Luck's return. He got roughed up pretty bad in his first preseason game. And again, it's like, what is this team doing to support? I mean, they lost Frank Gore.
They lost Dante Moncrief, who was a vital part of that receiving core. You mean they got T.Y. Hilton, but who else they got to help him out?
Right. Yeah,
but they did add Eric Ebron, who's looking to revitalize his career as well, and so it can go kind of either way. But the pendulum, I kind of got the Colts finishing last in their division.
I do too. It's one of those things where you're getting Andrew Luck back, but at the same time, Colts have not done much to build around Andrew Luck or really give him a supporting cast. With Andrew Luck, they can. They could go 11-5. They did it 3 straight seasons, made the playoffs each time, and got as far as the AFC championship game in 2014. As soon as Luck was off the field, they just tanked.
It's just like I said, the Colts means like we don't know where things go as far as the Colts are concerned.
Jacksonville Jaguars added Andrew Norwell, Austin's Safarian Jenkins, and Dante Moncrief. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Their biggest loss, Aaron Colvin and Allen Robinson. But I mean, the Jags are definitely a team that wants to win with defense first. They've made that statement. But also, it looks like they're adding players around Blake Bortles to at least probably get some more quality production out of the offense. I mean, it's pretty clear that they're committed to Bortles at this point, giving him that 5-year, $54 million extension.
And so they have a lot of expectations for him. So, of course, you got to add a team around him to make him more productive. They also got Leonard Fournette, who is coming off a 1,000-yard season with the Jaguars during his rookie year, who's poised for more success going into the future. You add 2 more targets. You got Austin Safarian-Jenkins and Dante Moncrief. You add more dimensions to that offense. Not only that, they also added the speedy DJ Chark from LSU, who they drafted in the I want to say the 3rd round.
Yeah, 3rd round. He's the 3rd round pick.
And so I see the Jags really putting their feet on the gas pedal this season. Some people saying the Jags going to take a step back. I don't see it happening.
No, I see them easily being in the AFC Championship again.
So are we going to see the Pats versus Jags Part 2?
Don't think so. I think the Patriots are going to take a step back. I see them making the playoffs as the default of being in a weaker conference, but like we said last time, they somehow got worse this past off season, and Well, now you got the chaos in the locker room, so that's going to be a distraction. But Tennessee Titans, boy, they made some big splashes. Benny Logan, Deion Lewis, and of course Malcolm Butler
and Kenny Vaccaro in the second.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did just sign Kenny Vaccaro.
One of their safeties went down, so they needed a safety. They had brought in Kenny Vaccaro and Eric Reed for tryouts, and of course Kenny Vaccaro got the job. Of course, with Eric Reed didn't get the job because of the whole national anthem protest fiasco. But the Titans, they added Benny Logan to the front seven. You got Malcolm Butler, who was an Iron Man corner for the Pats last season. He's one of the more productive defensive players for the Pats last season. And you add Kenny Vaccaro, who adds knowledge and he adds experience to that defense, and also being in that Titans secondary. You got Marcus Mariota, who's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He's going into, I believe, the final season of his contract. You got Derrick Henry at running back. And so the Titans, I see the Titans improving. They made a huge splash last season, beating the Chiefs in the divisional round, led by Alex Smith. The Chiefs were a heavy favorite in that game. And, of course, they went to New England and just, flopped over. But still, the Titans had a pretty good season, in which what puzzles me is I don't know why they fired Coach Mike Mularkey. Honestly, I have no reason why Mike Mularkey came in as the interim head coach. And of course, this past season being his full season as head coach last season, leading the Titans to the playoffs, winning a game in Kansas City, against a highly favored Chiefs team who was set to make a run in the playoffs, considering the fact that they had Alex Smith, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, who else? Eric Berry, Marcus Peters, Andy Reid is their head coach, and you go in and you beat the Chiefs. Why you fire Coach Mike Mularkey? Now, getting Mike Vrabel, I feel, was a decent pickup. You see a guy who he's a defensive mindset. So, of course, they try to win with defense as well.
Yeah, I didn't understand the firing, the Mularkey firing, other than maybe he has a terrible last name.
Let's do some work.
We could sit here and talk about the Saints for hours, so I don't want to say too much about them other than I expect them to improve. They did go out and improve their defense this year, which was already a good, solid defense. We have talked about that defense, like I have said, that nobody is talking about is the fact that half the defense last year, as good as it was, had yet to reach its prime. And it seems like there's a lot of potential for a lot of guys breaking out this season, so we'll talk a little bit more about that in our next Cajun Connection podcast. But Atlanta Falcons, not much off-season additions. I don't remember, but their big thing was signing Matt Ryan to a monstrous contract.
He is their franchise quarterback. You want to keep him happy before he goes somewhere else.
I know, but at the same time, again, we keep coming back to you. You don't have a lot of wiggle room for building around him.
But Julio Jones finally reported to camp. Julio Jones did say, "I am staying here. I am not going anywhere." So he will be in Atlanta for a long time. They also have Devontae Freeman at running back. What more should I say about him? They also signed Calvin Ridley as well, who they got in the draft. And so you got two former Alabama receivers. You got Julio Jones, who's a deep threat, who's also a possession guy. You got Calvin Ridley, who's a speed guy. Now you got more dimensions on that Falcons offense. This Falcons team is going to be scary this season. This can be a scary Falcons team. Look at their defense. Deion Jones. Bam. Case closed. Deion Jones, who's one of the better linebackers in the league.
Yeah, I do like their defense. They do have a young defense, but I'll be honest, I don't see it as one of the premier ones in the league. And does have potential. Robert Alford,
who's also from Southeastern. He went to Southeastern actually.
Was it Southeastern? I thought it was Southern.
Southeastern.
Southeastern, okay. All right. Carolina Panthers. I mean, outside of Cam Newton, you can't really say much about that offense. I mean, they're trying to develop
Christian McCaffrey.
Well, yeah, there's Christian McCaffrey.
But with Carolina Panthers, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to talk about the social media beef between Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin. So Kelvin Benjamin wanted to talk about how he wished that the Panthers never drafted him because of Cam Newton's lack of accuracy. Just basically talk a bunch of noise on social media. So Cam Newton decides, forget social media, because the Bills and Panthers recently played against each other in the preseason game. So during, the pregame workouts and the pregame drills and all that, Cam Newton chooses to walk up to Kelvin Benjamin and stand in his face. Right then and there, I mean, because Kelvin Benjamin has no right to talk. I mean, Kelvin Benjamin, he got drafted first round out of Florida State, but has not lived up to expectations. Cam Newton, you look at a guy who's, in the year that Kelvin Benjamin was out with injury, the Panthers went 15-1. They win the NFC title. They go to Super Bowl. Cam Newton wins MVP. So Kelvin Benjamin has no right to talk about, lack of accuracy. Cam Newton's a former MVP. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's won the NFC title, and he's did it all without Benjamin. So why does Benjamin talk? I mean, and besides the fact that one training camp, Kelvin Benjamin shows up looking like Cleo from Set It Off. So, have you ever watched Set It Off?
Actually, no, I haven't.
With Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith. You haven't watched it?
No.
Go watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. Look out for Queen Latifah in that movie. You'll know it, and you'll see why. Look at a picture of Kelvin Benjamin showing up fat to training camp one year, and look at a picture of Cleo from Set It Off. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay. And then finally, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right out the bat, Jameis Winston out for the first 3 games.
Because he wanted to grow up an Uber driver. They actually, it's gotten so bad because you know how it seems they have those murals of their top players, on the outside of the stadium. They actually took Jameis Winston off that mural. And so it's like, are the Buccaneers preparing for life after Winston? So Jameis Winston, when he comes back from his suspension, Jameis Winston has to be at the top of his game. He has to be. He has no choice but to produce. It's playoff or bust for him.
Honestly, I don't understand why the Buccaneers fired Lovie Smith. I thought Lovie Smith had them in the right mindset and on the right path, and then he's like, "Oh, you didn't make the playoffs your first 2 years. Bye."
I feel that it was too soon. And it was a questionable. I feel it was a questionable decision. It's kind of like I wouldn't say as questionable as the Raptors firing Dwayne Casey after winning Coach of the Year and leading the Raptors to the most wins in the regular season in franchise history, but still.
Yeah, that was stupid, and what was even dumber is that their general manager had nothing but praise for Casey after that. It was like, he's such a great coach. Then why the hell did you fire him? And kind of finally to wrap this thing up, the big, what we call it big headline. I mean, it's kind of big headline, but Josh Allen thrown into the center of the flames, starting his preseason game coming up, and AJ McCarron has to sit on the sideline. Originally, they said it was a collarbone break, but now it's not.
It's a hairline fracture in his collarbone.
Yeah, McCarron got a second opinion. It's not. He injured his shoulder.
So he's not going to be missing as much time.
No, he won't be missing as much time as originally thought.
Because at first, when I saw a broken collarbone, I'm like, oh, he's done for the season. And then Josh Allen's going to get thrown in there, and ain't no telling what the Bills are going to do.
No, I mean, I do expect the Bills to take a step back this year. But listen to AJ McCarron. If you're a backup quarterback that wants to start, don't sign with a team that needs a quarterback before the draft.
I mean, with the Bills, AJ McCarron was a pretty good pickup. I mean, you look at AJ McCarron, he's a guy who's followed behind Andy Dalton for the past few years. And I feel it was time for AJ McCarron to have his own team, to be the leader of his own team. It's unfortunate that he got injured, but the good thing about it, he won't be missing as much time. And so whenever he steps in, he'll be a lot more poised, and he'll come in with a chip on his shoulder.
All right, well, that's all the time we got for this week, and we'll be wrapping that up. Thank you for listening.